This video is to remind us of how to simplify fractions. Now, before I can simplify fractions, I need to know some very important vocabulary. First of all, we need to know what factors are. Remember, factors are numbers that are being multiplied together. For example, 2 multiplied by 4 equals 8. The 2 and the 4 are our factors. Remember, to simplify fractions, we're going to split up numbers by their factors. Another thing we need to remember is what equivalent fractions are. Equivalent fractions, remember, are fractions that look different but have the same value. And that's all we're doing when we're simplifying fractions. We're making them into their simplest form. So equivalent fractions, they look different, but they have the same value. Okay, so let's start with 28 over 50. So we need to split up the 28 into its factors. And we're going to think about what's a factor that I can split 28 into that I can also split 50 into. Because remember, it doesn't work if we make it 4 times 7 and 2 times 50. Remember, that doesn't work. We don't have a factor that will reduce. So, we're going to change this. And instead of that, let's do 2 multiplied by 14 and 2 multiplied by 25. So now we have that common factor. 2 divided by 2, remember, gives us the value of 1. Our leftover is the 14 over 25. Now a new vocabulary word for you is these numbers are said to be relatively prime when they have no more factors in common. So for example, the only factors of 25 are 5, and 5 is not a factor of the number 14. Remember our factor trees? So 14 over 25 is relatively prime, which is how we know it's in simplest form. Okay, 75 over 175. So I'm going to think to myself, what is a common factor? What number divides both of these? Well, you could start with 5. 5 multiplied by 15 gives me 75. Remember, that might be a good one for our multiplication frenzies. And 5 divides 175. If you're not sure, do the division. 5 goes into 17 3 times. Left over 25. 5 times 5 gives me 25. So that means it's 5 multiplied by 35. 5 divided by 5, again, gives me that number 1. And now I have the fraction 15 over 35. Well, I need to know, is this in simplest terms? Is it reduced all the way? It's not, because 15 is also 5 multiplied by 3, and 35 is 5 multiplied by 7. So we have another common factor. This common factor can be divided. So we have a 1, which means my final answer, my simplest form, is 3/7. So 3/7 and 75 over 175, these are equivalent. These are equivalent fractions. The one in simplest form is 3/7. Now, we could have split that up a different way. We could have used a different factor. So, for example, I could have made 75 over 175 into different factors. I know 75 is 25 multiplied by 3. And I know 175 is 25 multiplied by 7. So I can reduce this common factor of 25. This becomes a 1. Again, my answer is 3/7. No matter what you reduce it by, you've got to get the same thing. You've got to get another equivalent fraction. Okay, let's try another one. 44 and 121. Well, hopefully you see 121 and you're thinking, that's a strange number. It happens to be a perfect square, right? 11 multiplied by 11. Also one of our multiplication frenzy numbers that we should know. 44, can we write that as 11 multiplied by something? Yes. 11 multiplied by 4. 11 is my common factor, and it only reduces once. You can cross out both 11s in the denominator. So my final answer, my simplified fraction, is 4 over 11. Again, these two are equivalent. They have the same value, even though they look a little different. Okay, here's another one. 24 over 132. Again, 132 should jump out as a number that we should know. Remember, that is 11 multiplied by 12. Now, can we write 24 as 11 multiplied by something? Or perhaps as 12 multiplied by something? Hopefully you recognize that's 12 multiplied by 2. This time my common factor is the 12. So that becomes a 1. And what's left is we have 2 11s. Equivalent fractions, just in different form. My simplest form is 2 over 11. Last problem. 60 over 135. Now, those of you that have your 15s memorized, this is a good problem for you. 16 we know is 15 multiplied by 4. 135 is 15 multiplied by 9. So we know 15 divided by 15 becomes a 1. So my reduced fraction, my simplest form, is 4/9. Now, if you didn't know that, that's okay. You can still do this problem. You can break this up by 5s if you want. 5 goes into 135 27 times. So reduce the 5s. Now, what's a number that can divide both 12 and 27? What's a common factor for those two? Hopefully you're thinking of the number 3. You could look at the factors of 12, right? We could say 2 and 6. Can I write 27 as 2 multiplied by something? No. Can I write it as 6 times something? No. I chose 3 and 4 because I know 27 can be written as 3 multiplied by 9. 3 and 3, they reduce. We're just looking for a common factor there. So again, my answer is 4/9. I know I'm simplified. I know this is in simplest form because my only factors of 4 are 2 and 2, and my only factors of 9 are 3 and 3. They are relatively prime. They have no common factor.